So we're having a debate, as you know, on casino gambling and whether we might have 2, 3 destination resort casinos in Massachusetts, or whether we could have slots at the racetracks.
Sure.
There's a real desire to increase the revenue without raising taxes. First, I mean, my position, I think, you and I talked about it earlier, is that we have to make sure the money being spent is spent as efficiently as possible. There's also a need for revenue. How do you feel about gambling, and what impact might that have on a very successful lottery operation?
It's going to have an impact. And I think people who say it's not going to have much of an impact are probably underestimating the impact. First thing, by the way, I think that we need to do is we still can squeeze more value and more business and more revenue back to our cities and towns from the lottery. I was speaking to the head of the Massport the other day. 27 million people go through the airport every year. We don't sell lottery tickets at the airport except in the gas station and in one newsstand in Terminal E at the International Terminal. So what if a family, a visitor from Minneapolis comes to town and they're waiting for their luggage and they buy $50 or $100 worth of lottery tickets? We can take money in from people who come here as tourists and use that money and send it right back to cities and towns.
Sure, and if they're from Minneapolis, we wouldn't have to tell them if they won. We just keep it, right? So.
I don't think we probably wouldn't do that.
So what about...
And local visitor centers as well. I mean, 1 million people go through the visitor center in Plymouth every year, and many of those people aren't from Massachusetts. And even if they are, no reason why they couldn't buy $5 or $10 worth of lottery tickets. In terms of gambling, when I ran for governor in 2002, I was opposed to the expansion of casino gambling. I had some concerns about it. And I still have concerns about it because, after all, gambling addiction is a problem. We need to significantly increase the amount of money we spend to deal with gambling addiction. But right now we send hundreds of millions of dollars of taxes to Connecticut. I was down at Foxwoods one day. I counted the license plates. 38% of the license plates were Massachusetts plates. So we need those funds here, I think, right now. In addition, 30% of our neighbors who are in the construction trades are out of work, as you and I are sitting and talking this evening. 30%, 30%, 20,000 men and women. That's serious. And we can put a lot of those folks back to work. And a lot of those jobs are decent jobs, $40,000, $45,000 jobs with health benefits. So it's a difficult issue, and it's going to be debated for a long time in the legislature, and you'll be part of that debate. I won't have a vote. I'll take office if I'm successful in January of 2011. But I want to make sure the treasurer, I as treasurer, have a seat at the table to make sure that it's done right. Because if you're going to manage the lottery, you have to be at the table to manage the flow of funds back to the cities and towns for casino gambling.
There was a thought a while back, proffered by the time by, I think, former Governor Weld and former House Chair of Ways and Means Paul Haley and others, about privatizing the operation of the lottery, about instilling some of those private business practices and principles in the lottery, or selling the lottery operation and getting an upfront payment or an annuity or some such thing. Have you looked at that? Had any thoughts on that?
I haven't looked into it seriously because I'm not there, and obviously have to be inside in order to look at that. I basically think that since the lottery is a stream of income that goes back to cities and towns that deals with quality of life in every one of our cities and towns, firefighters, police officers, teachers, municipal services, I would be opposed to selling it off or privatizing it because, frankly, I think I'd rather bring good, solid business practices to improving the lottery and to making the lottery even more effective and even more revenue for cities and towns than I would taking in a big lump sum. You take in a big lump sum, yes, it's there.
Sure.
It gets spent for whatever purpose, and then we lose that stream of earnings forever, and that's an annuity for the cities and towns. And I don't know a city and town in Massachusetts that wouldn't be in deep, deep trouble if suddenly those lottery funds went away.
Sure.
I want to make sure, if we do have casino gambling, that the legislature makes sure that some of those funds that come in from increased gambling resources go back to cities and towns to improve local aid so that local aid is not decimated in this next budget year that you know is going to be so tough.
So one of the other things, I mean, the treasurer really has some extraordinarily important functions, oversight of the lottery being one. Perhaps as important, if not more important, is the